Willie Nelson never fit the mold expected of a country music star. He never wore the right clothes, sang the right songs, or smiled the right smile for the cameras. Yet for over 70 years, he has remained a defining figure in American music, driven by an authenticity that few have matched. With his voice, rough and full of life's sorrows, he turned personal heartbreak into heartfelt hymns and struggles into songs that connected with millions. His journey, spanning over 200 albums and 10,000 live performances, was never about conforming. Rather, it was about singing the truth, even when the world around him tried to silence him. Behind the iconic image of Willie, the braids, the battered guitar, named Trigger, lies a story of persistence, loss, and the power of music to heal and carry someone through even the harshest of times. A childhood marked by abandonment, born in Abbott, Texas in 1933, Willie's early years were anything but easy. Abbott was a small, dusty town where poverty and hardship marked daily life. His parents, Ira and Mile Marie, were both young when they married, drawn together by the hardships of the Great Depression. However, their marriage didn't last. When Willie was just 6 months old, his parents left him and his sister Bobby behind. It was an abandonment without warning, explanation, or apology. Their grandparents, Alfred and Nancy Nelson, took on the responsibility of raising the two children. With their deep religious faith and love for music, they made sure to instill a sense of purpose in Willie. They believed in the power of music to shape a life, and for Willie, that was the light that guided him through a lonely childhood. Music as a survival strategy. From a young age, Willie found solace in music. While his classmates spent their days in school, Willie was already learning the rhythms of life through the melodies that surrounded him. At just 6, he began playing the guitar, an instrument that would eventually become his lifelong companion. His grandmother was the one who placed the first guitar in his hands and insisted that he learn to read music before anything else. The melodies of gospel, Western swing, and blues filled his soul and served as the foundation for his artistic journey. Music was more than just a passion for Willie. It was a survival mechanism. It was how he learned to cope with abandonment, how he began to define himself in a world that seemed indifferent to his existence. Music was his language when words failed. The early struggles of a young musician. By his early teens, Willie Nelson had already seen more than his share of struggles. He worked long hours in the fields, picking cotton and baling hay, alongside adults who were twice his age. However, these tough jobs gave him a unique perspective on dignity and work, which he would carry with him for the rest of his life. By 9, he was playing guitar in a local band, and by 10, he was already writing his own songs. It was clear to everyone around him that Willie had a gift. His songs, filled with maturity and emotion, captured the essence of the struggles he had lived through. Yet, despite his early talent, he faced rejection and disappointment in almost every corner of life. As he left Abbott for the broader world, he did so with little more than his guitar, a few songs, and the unshakable belief that his music had a place in the world. A series of disappointments and setbacks. After high school, Willie's life was a series of misadventures and failures. He enlisted in the Air Force, hoping to find structure and purpose, but a back injury led to an honorable duro d'aransir Waisi. Back in Texas, he floated from one job to another, selling Bibles door to door, working as a plumber's apprentice, pumping gas. No job seemed to stick, and Willie remained disillusioned with the world. But through all of this, he never stopped playing music. Whether in honky-tonk bars or as a disc jockey in San Antonio and Vancouver, music was always his constant companion. Despite his struggles, he found a way to stay connected to the art that gave him meaning. Even when the world seemed to have no place for him, his voice filled the airwaves, but his pockets remained empty. Love and loss. The personal struggles. In addition to his professional challenges, Willie's personal life was equally complicated. He married young, a decision he later regretted, marrying Martha Matthews in 1952. Together, they had 3 children, Lana, Susie, and Billy. However, the marriage soon became strained. Willie's obsession with music and his long absences from home led to tension, and his wife's frustration boiled over. The relationship became toxic, and eventually, they divorced in 1962. Willie's relationship with his children was also fraught, shaped more by absence than presence. Like his own parents, Willie was often missing from his children's lives, a fact he would wrestle with for many years. The pain from these personal failures and disappointments would carry on, but Willie's music remained his therapy, his outlet for the pain and grief. A songwriter's rise, writing masterpieces in poverty. Despite the personal and financial struggles, Willie Nelson's songwriting talents began to gain recognition. In the early 1960s, he wrote several songs that would become iconic, including Funny How Time Slips Away, Hello Walls, and the immortal Crazy. Yet, his struggles were far from over. While his songs gained popularity and were recorded by big-name artists, Willie remained largely unnoticed as a performer. His songs, recorded by artists like Patsy Cline and Faron Young, became massive hits, but he received little recognition or compensation for them. He sold Crazy to Patsy Cline's publisher for a mere $50, despite its eventual place as one of the most recorded songs in history. The Nashville establishment saw him as too unconventional. Soften your heads and his voice, soften his style. His approach were all wrong for their polished mainstream sound. The struggle to be seen, Willie's fight for recognition. Nashville in the 1960s was a place where conformity ruled. The music industry, dominated by polished and perfectly produced songs, wasn't ready for Willie's raw, unpolished sound. Producers and executives rejected him repeatedly, insisting that his phrasing was off, that his voice wasn't right, and that his style was unsuitable for mainstream country music. Despite all this, Willie never gave up. He continued to write, record, and perform, holding on to the belief that his music had a rightful place in the world. The rejection he faced only strengthened his resolve. His music was his truth, and no amount of industry gatekeeping could take that away from him. A legend in the making, refusing to be silenced. Willie Nelson's journey was not an easy one. It was marked by setbacks, rejection, and personal tragedy. But through it all, he never gave up on his music. He wasn't embraced by the industry, but he sang anyway. His music became a voice for the voiceless, a testament to resilience, and a beacon of hope for those who felt overlooked and abandoned. Today, Willie is considered one of the most influential figures in American music, not because the world accepted him, but because he refused to accept the world's limits. His career is a reminder that greatness isn't defined by popularity or approval. It's defined by perseverance, authenticity, and the courage to be yourself, no matter the cost.